In this video, we're going to talk about using the long division method with polynomials. But first, let's review what long division is with just plain numbers. So we'll start with something that you might have seen quite a while ago, such as 803 divided by 22. So we would put it in the long division symbol, which was this little symbol here, looked like a little box. Sometimes they were drawn straight, just depends, doesn't really matter. But we're going to take 22 and divide into 803. So the basic process was to take the divisor here, 22, and since it was 2 digits, I'd go to the first 2 digits of the number and say, okay, how many times is 22 going to 80 without going over? So in this case, I would know, okay, let's try 3. 3 times 22 is 66. And as long as my remainder is less than 22, that works. So 66 from 80 is going to give us 14. Now we need to bring down the next number in line, which is 3, and then stay okay. 22 goes into 143 how many times? Well, in this case, let's try 6, because I know that 6 times 20 is 120, so it's somewhere around there. 6 times 2, well, that's 12. Remember to carry your 1. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So 6 times 22 is 132. Now, we subtract those, we get a remainder of 11. Now, we don't have any more numbers here, so in later math you were taught to add a decimal point and a 0, and we put the decimal right up here. So now I carry down a 0. 22 into 110 goes 5 times. 5 times 22, well, 5 times 20 is 100, 5 times 2 is 10, so this comes out to be 110. So our remainder now is 0. So it means that 803 divided by 22 would equal 36.5. So this is the general procedure that we're going to follow when we're doing it with polynomials. So let's see kind of what that looks like. All right, so here's our example. We're going to divide 4a plus 4 into the polynomial of 8a cubed minus 12a plus 4. Now with this, I do need to have something in every place value. You'll notice that when at 803 we had a 0 in the hundreds column because although there was no number there, we still have to have something that represents it. That's how we do numbers. So I'm going to take the first 8a cubed. I'm going to write that down. Now normally what comes after a cubed would be an a squared. So I need to fill in that placeholder. So I'm simply going to put in 0 a squared, because 0 times a squared would be 0, so it'd still be equivalent, minus 12a plus 4. I'm going to put that all into the division symbol, and my divisor is going to be 4a plus 4. Now, the way this process works is we're doing it by terms. So our focus is on this first term. We want to get it to equal 8a cubed so that we can subtract it. So I basically say 4a divides into 8a cubed how many times? Well, 4 goes into 8 twice. A into 8 cubed, or 8 cubed divided by a, would be a squared. So now I take that term that I just came up with and I multiply by the 4a, which gives me 8a cubed, but I also have to distribute to this 4. So 2a squared times 4 is going to give me 8a squared. Now I have to subtract this line. So by subtracting, I'm subtracting this term here and this term here. So I'm changing their signs from positive to negative, because this now reduces to 0. The second term, 0 minus 8, is going to give me negative 8a squared. Now I have 2 terms, so I need to bring down the next term. So I have 2 terms here. Now again, I start with the 4a. 4a and focus on the negative 8a squared. So this is going to be times negative 2a. Negative 2a times 4a is negative 8a squared. Now I take the negative 2a, distribute it to the 4, and I get minus 8a. So again, we need to subtract both of these terms. So by subtracting a negative, I get a plus, and this subtraction becomes plus. So these cancel to 0, and this becomes negative 4a. Bring down the 4. Now, last one here, 4a to negative 4a. Well, if you divide those, you're going to get minus 1. Now I'm going to take that minus 1 times 4. So negative 1 times 4 gives me negative 4a. Negative 1 times 4 gives me minus 4. Now I'm going to subtract both of those terms, and what you'll notice is this one is going to cancel, negative 4a plus 4a, but when I subtract a negative, I'm now getting an 8. Now, normally we would put a decimal and a 0, but since we're not doing real numbers, we actually stop at this point and we have a remainder of 8. So how do you write your answer? Well, you write down first the polynomial 2a squared minus 2a minus 1. And since this is a positive 8, we're going to write plus, and then we're going to put our remainder 8 over the divisor of 4a plus 4. And that basically is our answer.